Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I got bourbon on the bar. Let's get into it. Okay, tonight I've got a budget bourbon banger for beginners. This is BAM Larceny Small Batch. So for a lot of this audience, I realize that you guys are probably past the Larceny Small Batch portion of your bourbon journey. But, you know, when I first got into bourbon and I started looking up content on YouTube to try to learn some stuff, these are the kind of videos I actually was looking for. Like, what are these readily available bottles that I see in every single store for like 25 bucks, and are they worth your time? So we're gonna get into this one tonight. This was one that actually, when I first kind of got into bourbon, as far as, you know, like sub 100 proof bottles, I think is a really good one. So I figured I'd hop on here, do a little review of it. And again, if you're new to bourbon and you're looking for something that's, you know, inexpensive but decent quality, spoiler alert, this one is. So this is a wheated bourbon from Heaven Hill. I actually picked this up this last weekend just because I was kind of looking for a lower proof bourbon to sip on, to, you know, sit around and have a few. One of the things that I've talked about on this channel before is when you're gonna get a bourbon that you want to sit and have maybe a couple of drinks that night, obviously you don't want to sit and just sip on some cask strength banger and be on the floor after your second drink. Not only that, it just blows out your palate, you know, the super high proof stuff if you have too much of it. So there's value in having a good low proof bourbon that actually has decent flavors. So I picked this one up this last weekend just because I hadn't had it in a very long time, and I figured I'd give it a shot. 92 proof. I think they say 6 to 8 year aged. On the nose, it's really nice and sweet. The wheat note comes through. It's a little bit bready, caramel. And just, you know, overall, just kind of a well-rounded, fairly basic, but well-rounded bourbon. Obviously, the proof isn't overwhelming at 92. Let's get into the palate. Cheers. Yeah, so this, I mean, for a starter bourbon, this is actually pretty good. I would say it's really good. For that, you know, $25 price point. This isn't gonna overwhelm you if you're new to bourbon, but honestly, like even at, you know, the kind of bourbons that I like to drink, I tend to go for 100 proof and higher typically. I definitely like the cask strength stuff, but honestly, I don't mind sipping on this. This is, you know, I'm not gonna have a hard time making my way through this bottle. If I'm hanging out at somebody's house and they pour a pour of this neat, I'm not gonna have a problem with that at all. I think the flavors are really good. Obviously there's the Larceny barrel proof, so if you like the flavors in something like this and you're looking for the higher proof level, that's obviously a great option. I've been a fan of every single one of those that I've had. But this one definitely serves a purpose, and I think, you know, at the beginning, like I said, of your kind of, you know, bourbon journey, for lack of a cheesier term, this one deserves a spot in it, if nothing else, just to explore, you know, the wheated mash bill. Maker's Mark is kind of the most famous for being wheated, but they have such a different flavor profile that I think it's not a representation of just wheated bourbons in general, just because they're a little bit more unique. This one I think is a good example of kind of a basic wheated bourbon if you're interested in exploring that. Let's get one more sip here. Yeah, the grain flavor comes through, but it comes through in a good way. I got nothing bad to say about this one, you know? Like I said, if you're at the beginning of your kind of bourbon journey, or say you're gonna have a friend over, you know, that maybe isn't into the higher proof stuff, or you're having somebody over that is just kind of into the idea of getting to know bourbon, this is a good one to start with. I don't typically recommend, and I maybe want to do a video of this at some point about like how to host a bourbon tasting for beginners, because I've had friends ask me that, and there might be some value in a video like that. But, you know, this one is good at the 92 proof point. I don't really recommend at this point anymore starting really below 90 for the most part, because not just because the bourbon gets a little watered down at that point, but because when it gets that watered down, it actually takes on kind of a funky flavor, in my opinion. And so I think this proof point is a good place to start. And certainly if you're, you know, maybe gonna host a bourbon tasting for beginners, This deserves a spot in the lineup. Again, because it's cheap, it's approachable, but the flavors are really good, and it's kind of a down the middle bourbon, but still kind of has that wheated mash bill influence to make it a little bit different, to kind of throw a curveball in there, away from just the regular rye mash bill bourbons that you may have in the lineup. So anyway, I think this is a great place to start if you're a beginner, and if you are a beginner, the Bourbon Note is a great place to start your whiskey tube journey if you want to learn more about bourbon. So please like, comment, and subscribe. You can check out the Patreon. Thank you very, very much for watching. This has been Larceny Small Batch on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. We'll see you on the next one.